it would be interesting if there was either a way to sort of export all of the context that you have built into one of these models, or like if you did build an app that's like combines all of these, it has sort of like a separate memory that is not
That would be
attached to
cool.
any one direct model, and then it can just sort of like a
Reference
vector
it
You can
whenever it
just
database,
switch
needs.
over
right?
to any of them.
Yeah, and then it
Yeah.
can just pull from that whatever it needs and input
Well,
that
even
into
that's
the
easy
API
to do
call.
because you have the models that'll vector it for, that'll
Yeah,
turn it into what you need. I mean, it's not that'd be doable
Like
too.
Obsidian, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like second brain kind of ordeal, but then you can take that brain and go shop the market
yeah.
and do a little
Or
window shopping
I
of
mean,
AI models.
even like we were, what was it? The oh my god, why am I like MongoDB, right? You had the Syntax Summit guy, MongoDB guy came, and he was explaining how to basically use like create a vector database with MongoDB, right? So you could create a MongoDB database of every chat you've ever had with every model, and you can build the app
Yeah.
that basically just connects to the API, and then your whatever prompt you put in will search the database for the most relevant information and like tack that onto your prompt when it sends it to the API, and then it reindexes your response and puts that back in the database. And that way you always have this
Yeah.
separate database that it's not storing necessarily all of this information, right? It's a more concise way of searching and storing information.
Have you guys used any of the models that will vectorize the data for you?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Like the embedding
Yeah.
models.
Yeah, they're cool. They're
Not
really
directly.
interesting. I mean, it
Yeah.
makes it super easy. Yeah. I mean, it's like
It's
it's gotten
Yeah, to
very easy to
access
do
it.
all this stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I
I
mean that
am curious. Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Yeah. I was just saying that'd
Oh
be
no, I was
cool.
just gonna switch the topic a little bit to kind of go back to what Randall was saying. Like, I am very curious. So, with your thought that you said how the .com bubble was very new back then, and things were very slow and everything like that. So it'd almost be like if we followed the same thing in history, if you can figure out the workflows now, and the only tangible factor is the actual underlying IP of these AI models, you would pretty much win, right? If you can figure out the hard stuff now, and that's your only like weak spot, and then as the models get better, you're just reinforcing your workflow and your whatever your product in 5 years, like you're going to be like nobody could be able to touch you basically.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
I think
definitely
it's
feels
actually
like a dot-com
important.
bubble.
Uh, I think it's actually important to be somewhat to be able to use different models, because if you take a look at the .com bubble, there was a whole bunch of different websites that came out, but it wasn't important what the website was. It was learning how to use a technology to
Hmm.
harvest money from it, because eventually there was a .com crash,
Yeah.
and
Mm.
that
Yeah.
weeded out a whole bunch of things. We could potentially see the same type of thing here in AI, where they're all, we're having, if you look at markets, we're having some pretty good years recently, and eventually the funding may stop. A lot of these companies may go under, and then there'll be a few left. But the skills that you learn, those will be transferable to whichever ones survive.
Mm.
However, if you're completely dependent upon one AI company, then if
Yeah.
yours doesn't make it, it'll be a little bit harder to make the transition.
That's
Well,
true.
that's
That's a
like
good point.
that was one of the interesting. I was listening to a thing on NPR. It was I just listened to like half of it. They had a guy on talking about using these AI models and like people that like most people not using them very well. They just go
Hmm.
and like ask them questions, get frustrated, stuff like that. And he was like, spend 10 hours with it because they're general tools. And
Yeah.
nobody has figured out every use case yet. That's the interesting thing, right? Like we're still learning how we can apply these. And they keep coming out with new things like agents are all brand new. I mean, they just came out, what, a few months ago, and they've already been put to so many different uses. So seeing all these different use cases and, we'll find new ways of employing it that might change stuff dramatically.
Yeah. I
And I
think
think
it's
agents have
funny.
been that, right? They really just transformed the use of AI, think, dramatically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's funny the sort of like viral trends that have come out of AI, like the especially
Yeah.
like the image trends, like the whole like action figure thing where like for a while everyone was like creating
Mm,
themselves as an action figure and stuff like that. Like,
And the Ghibli studio.
the
yeah, yeah.
Ghibli. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really funny like how that stuff just like pops up, and you know, it's totally like a fad like anything else. It has its time and then it goes away, but yeah.
I
And
think
they're
one
like,
of
it
the
wasn't wrong
one
that
of the,
we didn't steal anything. And
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, they're like we didn't copy
Dude, yeah, good.
everything.
but probably one of the most impactful things that I did with AI was watch the 3 hour long deep dive on ChatGPT and other AI things by Karpathy, because that explained how all of it works.
Mm,
And it's still mind-boggling how it's really just tokenizing whatever you're putting in
Yeah.
there and then somehow coming up with a really realistic answer. But it's
yeah.
like it watching that 3 hour long thing completely changed how I used AI because it allowed me to see what I was actually doing. And I think that's a very useful thing for people to do, because then instead of just spraying and praying, you can have a little bit more of a methodical way of going about it.
Dude,
Yeah.
no, you're the
There's
thing.
a
Yeah,
really good
understanding how
thing.
they work is like key to using them well and effective, because you
Yeah.
just
If
know, you know.
There's a
Sorry.
book I read a while ago
okay.
called Deep Learning Explained, and it talks about how these like neural networks are created. And that was, I think, the same sort of enlightening moment for me where I understood that these models are really just based on how our brain works and how like neurons work and like the firing capacity of neurons. Like once you hit like a certain threshold, it will just fire to the next neuron. And they're basically doing the same thing with just nodes, like virtual
Yeah.
nodes and weights, right? And you're training it
Training.
like that. Yeah, it's so crazy, like
Yeah,
how it's
the
modeled.
guy that created TensorFlow for Google, he has a really good book, and it's
Yeah,
pretty. It went over my head in certain things,
yeah.
obviously,
There's
because it gets, you know,
it gets very
but reading it
mathematical.
was worthwhile because like you still get a lot out of it,
Yeah,
regardless if you understand everything. But it's crazy. It's all statistics, and like they were saying, like now even the people like training these models and stuff don't even understand the math, because that was
yeah,
created by these like people that understand very
yeah.
high
They're
level
PhD
statistics and stuff that are
mathematician.
just
Yeah.
insane. Yeah.
There was a book that I read like 5 years ago about AI back then called "You Look Like a Thing and I Love You." And
Oh yeah, that's a
the
great book.
title of the book came about because they asked like the AI that they had at the time, come up with the best pickup line that you can. And that was what it came up with. And like
Still to this
it's
Yeah.
day, the best pickup line for sure.
Yeah,
yeah.
you look like a thing. I
And
love you.
and so like the summary of that book is there's not going to be any general AI for a long time. Like we'll have specific use cases, but general AI won't
Yeah.
happen for a long time. And I wonder what their stance would be on it now with what's happened over the past 5 years. But another funny thing that I thought of from the book was they would do all these like image recognition AI, and every time you fed it a field, it would just say it was a giraffe, because
Hmm.
because like most of the
Oh,
times that it would get fed a picture and trained on a picture of a field, there would be a giraffe in there. And
yeah.
so like
Yeah.
yeah, so it was basically just guessing giraffe a whole bunch of times. But
That's
I would
funny.
love to see like a sequel to that book to find out what they think of it now.
I'm curious to
Yeah.
see too, because they're hitting their limit on information. And so now like I was reading MIT, I think it was testing having AI generate test data for itself to
Mm,
then train it on, because they're running out of data to train
yeah.
these models
Like
on.
the whole Stack Overflow issue,
Yeah,
right? It's
yeah.
like
And like,
there was so much data that they could train on, but now it's nobody's
well, they've
hosting on Stack
literally,
Overflow anymore.
Yeah.
yeah, they've literally used it. And like it's
And there's
interesting
only
because I
so
always,
many wrong answers you can get from Stack Overflow.
Yeah.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
At a
exactly.
It
There's
just
only
certain
so
goes
many
point.
back
trial and
12
errors you
years
can
of
get.
bad code, 15
Well,
Well,
years.
there's
here's like,
another thing. There's another thing that I think was in the Karpathy video about the training data. So when you have a right answer and a wrong answer, AI can actually do better than humans. But when there's no clear answer, like art or something like that,
An
it can't
abstract
do,
answer.
yeah, it can't do better than humans because there's no way to train it on that data. So you
Mm,
can't definitively say is this right or
well,
wrong.
yeah,
yeah, but
that's always going to be a problem
that
with things
also
like
goes
art and
back to
beauty and
like
stuff, because we don't agree, you know?
yeah, that also goes back to like what is good art, cuz I go into like a museum and I'm like that is freaking ugly, and people are like, "Oh no, that's
Anything with a banana.
yeah." They're like
Yeah.
that's worth millions of dollars. I'm like, "No, it's not. It's clearly not."
But that's just it though, right? Is that like certain areas are always going to be hard because we don't have agreement on it. And no
Yeah.
one knows precisely why some people find certain, like if you art is a good example, right? You go to a museum, some people really love certain sections of a museum, others hate the same section. Like there's no real rationale for it. It's just what appeals to you.
Yeah.
But there is a really cool example with stuff that there is a right or wrong answer, because I don't know, the game Go, there was a move, and I don't know which move it was, like move 16 or something like that, where it was AI versus humans. And AI did this move, and everybody, all the commentators or everything, were just like blown away. They're like, I can't believe it made that move. No humans ever made that move before. It's totally going to lose. But it actually ended up winning because of that move.
Hmm.
And so if you look up like AI
I read that one.
competition